Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to share this little analogy that God gave me about emotions and why we should not silence or ignore our emotions. So the analogy he gave me is like Applebee's. Think of Applebee's, or really any restaurant where you get those little coasters when you're waiting, and when they give you the coaster, the woman at the front or man at the front gives you the coaster, and when it starts buzzing and lighting up, that's your indication that you need to come inside to be served, that you need to come in and be seated and be served. Our emotions are like those little coasters, right? They are given to us by God. And when they are going off, they are indicators that we need to come into Him and to be served, that we need to be fed, that, we need to sit with Him and we need to be fed. That is what our emotions are. They are those little coasters. Now imagine if your little coaster, you're at the restaurant and your little coaster starts blinking and going off and buzzing, and you decide, oh no, I need to silence this. I'm going to take it to my car and do whatever I can to get it to be quiet. And you're actually successful. And you take it in there to that person and you're like, hey, I'm ready to be seated and be served. For what? Because your coaster isn't going off. We did not indicate, like, you weren't called in to be seated and served. Your coaster's not going off. That sounds ridiculous. Like, why would you silence it before you came in? The same thing with our emotions. Why would you silence your emotions before going to God? God gave you those to indicate when you're going to need to come into Him and to be fed. So when you're going to Him, you've learned this practice of silencing your emotions, and you're going to Him in prayer, and you're like, you don't even know, because there's nothing blinking and going off. There's nothing. There's no indicator. How do you pray earnestly when you have silenced the very thing that you would bring to Him earnestly? Your emotions are not bad. It's just they have to be handled properly. When they're blinking and going off, you bring them back to who gave them to you. You wouldn't take that blinking coaster to another patron sitting down waiting. You wouldn't be like, hey, this is blinking, can you get me a seat? You wouldn't take it to one of the waiters walking around trying to serve people food, like, hey, can you get me a seat? Hey, get me a seat. Well, I don't do the seating. Once they seat you, I'll serve you. Once they seat you, I'll serve you. Those emotions are not to be taken everywhere else and to be run all over the place to anyone that you see nearby. They didn't come from everyone around you. They came from God. He gave you those emotions to indicate when to come into Him. It's part of relationship. Bringing those emotions into Him, that's part of relationships. Of a relationship. Imagine, for everyone who's a parent, if your child repeatedly never brought anything to you, every day you ask them, how are you doing? How was today? What happened today? And they're fine, okay, nothing, fine, okay, nothing, fine, okay, nothing. You're like, there is something wrong. There is a breakdown in our relationship. God feels the same way. God feels the same way. Even if you're not a parent, if you're a friend, every time you got on the phone with them, all they said was, oh yeah, it's good. I'm good. Everything's good. Oh yeah, I'm good. It's good. Everything's good. Your person you're dating or your spouse, same thing. Same thing. If someone is not communicating what is actually happening in their life and their actual emotions, you are going to feel like there is a distancing. There is a breakdown in this relationship. There is distance being created. Not taking your emotions to God, trying to silence them instead of taking them to God, you're creating a distance and a breakdown and a separation in your relationship with Him. And that is serious, because every separation is a space for the enemy to shoot right in and wreak havoc on your life. So don't try to silence your emotions. Don't ignore your emotions. Don't try to throw them out. Take them to God. Take them to God. You see this in the Bible. This is in the Bible. David did this. The man who was called a man after God's own heart. God had a special love for David. David took everything to God. Was he always right? Were his emotions always correct or perfectly worded? No. No. But he took it all to God because he was in relationship and he trusted God's goodness and God's kindness and God's sovereignty. We have to do that. Do not silence them. They are indicators from him. Bring them to him. Be love, be light.